everyone, it's Cassie. Welcome back for another video. Today we are going to be making a couple of interactive cards. I'll show you how to make one of them and then I'll just give you a bonus of the other. So this is what we're going to be using today. This is the brand new Sheets and Giggles stamp set. I have the matching dies and we're going to be using the Easy Lights by Pearblossom Press along with an action wobbler and some sentiment stock. So let's go ahead and jump into it. This is actually pretty easy, but I want to show you all of the steps. So I'm going to use the sentiment stock as my card panel. So I'm just kind of taking a look at where I want those die cuts to go, and then I'll tack those down and then run that through my die cutting machine. Typically the sentiment stock is used just for sentiments, but I figured it would make such a beautiful background because it is like a matte black. It is so pretty and it's so smooth. So you'll see as we go along and hopefully you feel the same. So I have a piece of vellum that measures the same as my sentiment stock, and I am going to grab the ghosts and match those up with the die cuts that I did. We're just going to put those in there, keeping in mind that there is vellum behind that. So I'll close the door of my MISTI, pick that up, move the black cardstock, and then we're going to stamp that down on the vellum. I'm going to use a pigment ink because a dye ink will just kind of rub off of there, might leave some residue, but the pigment ink is going to be used with some clear embossing powder so that we have a good image stamped. And so I did the black, and then I'm just going to cover that with that clear embossing powder. You could use like a black embossing powder, that would look pretty good. But to be honest with you, I just wanted to make sure I didn't have any extra residue sitting around, so I just used the clear. And then we're going to heat set that with our heat gun. This is not a heat resistant vellum that I'm using, but it will work fine. You just want to make sure you keep your heat tool moving, and it will melt pretty quickly and you'll be able to tell. So watch as that happens. It just gets darker on that vellum and it happens very quickly. So perfect. There it is. That is our vellum piece. And I'm going to color this with watercolor. Now, typically you could not actually watercolor on a vellum. Vellum is not a porous paper, and so that watercolor is going to sit right on top, but as long as it dries, it's fine. And I'm not doing any blending. I'm just going to paint that color on and let that sit there and dry, and it's gonna be fine. It's actually going to look really good. This paint that I'm using, that is it's more of a color shifting watercolor that I have. It's called Orion, and you'll see because I'll show you close up, it looks like a purple, but it shifts in color. So there's just lots of neat stuff out there, I'm telling you. So I'm just going to keep coloring our ghosts. Ghosts are great. They're simple because if you're just using a regular sheet, which I'm looking at these, and how fun would that be to use like a patterned paper, like if you had like a floral pattern, you know, like grandma's old sheets. There's a ghost in grandma's old sheets or something like that. How cute would that be? I may have to do that. But ghosts are super simple because they're going to be typically white, right? And so just adding a little bit of shadowing and shading where you think there might be some. But these are cute because you can tell where that's going to be. And, you know, with the folds, they're just cute little images for sure. And I like that there's so many in this set. And then I'll just, like I said, continue painting. And when I'm done with that, I do want to hit that with my heat gun very, very quickly. This will dry very, very easily. And once that's dry, that paint's not going anywhere. But take a look at it. It's purple, but then it kind of shifts and it's shiny. So super cool. All right, before I attach my pieces together, I want to splatter up this background. So I'm going to put that in my makeshift splatter box, and I'll grab out that same paint that I used for the ghosts, and I'll just splatter that on the background. And it doesn't look like a whole lot since this is a black background and that's purple, but in real life, it's pretty incredible. It's so pretty on that black. And then I'm also going to grab out my Trinity Gold palette and just use the silver in there and do the same thing with silver splatters. So it'll look like these ghosts are kind of flying around in the night. This sentiment stock measured 4 inches by 5.5 inches. And so I've cut 2 pieces of vellum to be that same size. That was the one you saw that I've colored. And I'm going to attach the one that I've stamped right behind it. I'm using my Crafty Gluefriend and just, you know, trying to not to go all the way to the edge because that will kind of spread out a little bit. And shift it around a little bit. That's what's nice about liquid glue is you can move it as you need to. Everything is dry. You saw me hit that with a heat gun, so the entire background is good and dry. We're all good there. I did have to shift it a little bit, but that's okay. And then, like I said, I have another piece of vellum that is the same size, and I'm going to put that right behind there again. The reason I'm doing that is this is not like a heavy vellum, and so I just want to make sure that the light shows through, but that my wires don't. So here we go with our second piece. I'll just basically put glue where I already put it before. You can see it through the vellum. And then there goes this second piece. Now we're going to grab out that easy light. After everything is good and dry, we'll grab out our easy light, and I'll take out my pack. You can see I've already used one of them, and you just break those apart, get your piece, and then you grab your battery. So these are exactly what they say. If you've watched me do these before, this is no surprise. If this is your first time, I have a whole, I've done so many of these. I've done so many of these. All right, put the battery in just how it says, plus side to plus side, and just make sure everything's working fine, and there you go. And I'm going to play around, just kind of see where I want that light to be for the ghost. I wasn't sure if I wanted it towards the center or if I wanted it behind his eyes, but I'm just going to play around, and you can see how well that light shows through. It's great. And typically what I'll do when I make these is I will put the lights down first, but I'm going to put my mechanism down first. I'll put my battery pack down. I'll use some double-sided adhesive, put that where I want that, because I only have a few limited spaces I really can put it. And then I will take my lights and put those where I want them. I'm not worried about the wires just yet as far as how those are going to look back there. It always looks like a hot mess for me. And because I don't want that tape to show through, I'm going to use double-sided adhesive again. Normally I will use washi tape. Whatever you have is typically fine. But this tape is showing, like the backing, so I'm just going to peel off that release paper and just leave it exposed. And then you can't see the tape behind, and you can't see the wires either. All you see is the light. Again, that's why I use 2 pieces of vellum. Then we'll put our other light behind for this ghost. Again, some more double-sided adhesive. Just stick that light down. Same thing for the other. Another bit of double-sided adhesive. Put that down for his eyes. And then before I take off that release paper, make sure everything works right. And then I'm going to wad up all of my wires, kind of bunch them into a ball. I'm very limited on where my space is to be able to put these wires. So yeah, it is hot mess express back there. And I'm just going to take a little bit of washi tape and tack that down. Like I said, looks like a mess. Doesn't matter. No one's going to see it. In fact, I'm even going to put my foam tape over the top of it. So I've got that down. It's going to stay put. And then I'm going to go ahead and put this last tiny piece that I have over these wires just to make sure they stay put. And there you go. Now I'll take off that release paper on the back of the double-sided adhesive. And then we're going to bring in our foam tape. I have a foam tape that is about 3 millimeters deep. If you don't have anything this thick, you're going to want to take your regular foam tape and double it up. And the reason you want to do that is just to make sure that your mechanism isn't on all the time, that there is a little bit of cushion. So I'm going to take this stuff and I'm going to wind it all the way around. And then I'm going to put it in between areas. I just want to make sure that it's not going to collapse in on itself. So just anywhere where there's wires. I did want to show you that Max came in to be quality control to make sure that I didn't cut any of my wires. I have done that before. That is always a shame when that happens. So make sure I didn't cut any wires and to make sure that I have tape in all the places that it needs to be. And then he's eventually going to get bored. But oh, I love seeing his cute little head in here. Between him and Miles. So great. So yeah, I'm just making sure to cover in all those pieces so that I have as much on there as possible. All right, everything looks good. So I'm going to take that and we're going to get a base ready to go. My card base measures 5.5 inches by 8.5 inches, scored at 4 1/4. And then I'll take all the release paper and peel all of that off. And then we can attach this down to our card base. Because this sentiment stock measures 4 inches by 5.5 inches, there is going to be a white border on the top and bottom. You can see it looks like my mechanism is on all the time. But that's why it's kind of important to make sure that you have a good enough foam tape behind there. So all is well there. I'm now going to glue the sentiments down. I did those off camera We've got the You Have a Beautiful Soul, and we have the Push. The Push comes from our Papercrafting Magic stamp set. And then I've brought in these darling little glowing sky embellishments. And I can't show you in here because it's way too bright in here, but I will have a picture at the end. They do glow in the dark. They glow great. So not only are these interactive, but they glow in the dark. So there is our light up card. I love how that turned out. And here's one with an action wobbler. Those are always super fun and easy to add as well. Take a look at that. And then at the end, like I said, I'll show you a picture of them glowing in the dark. So if you like this video, be sure to hit that like button and definitely consider subscribing if you haven't already done so. And as always, be sure to check out all that Trinity Stamps has going on over on their blog, Facebook page, and Instagram for more crafty inspiration. Thanks for stopping by, and I hope you have a great day.